Hiya, mateys. We're already doing bad accents from all around the world. And we're here today to talk about so many wonderful things. It's Anytime with Ken and Alden. It's a Friday. We always come crashing into these shows because that's what life will do to you. I've been playing Bingo Blitz for cash survey money. Alden's sick, but we're here for another show. How you doing, buddy? I think we double mute. I unmuted you, and then you muted yourself back again. Giggity.
This is what happened. It was the pirate impression. I was just taking it back. I was bewildered. Bewildered.
I was bewildered, I see.
I don't know.
Bewildered on the high sea.
I don't know if bewildered is a word that pirates knew. I guess more on that when we get our pirate historians in the chat.
Yeah.
Our listeners seem like the type that would have a lot of pirate knowledge just sitting around.
Yeah.
A lot of special interest pirate knowledge. I like pirates. You like pirates? I did not feel like one this week. I didn't feel like adventurous or exciting. Like you mentioned, I'm sick. Maybe this will be my Jordan flu game. This will be the greatest broadcast of all time.
Good reference.
Every now and then a sports reference comes through, and it's always lands because people don't expect me to know them.
It's like me making a musical theater reference.
That is exactly what it's like.
We could cross-pollinate that there. I got the comments back up. Did you see that? We didn't have comments. The StreamYard was showing the video as private, but clearly we're public because people are watching it.
Right.
Now I can see the comments. Now I can see Detective Michael McCarcel here. Now I can see Matty Gunner here. I can see Jared the Dark Jedi. I can see Laserbolt. Dave, okay, this is like that kid show from years ago. Romper Room, Matthew Stokes. Jay from Nowhere, Food Poisoning Truther. Yeah, there you go.
Food poisoning. I thought it was this at first. I thought it was food poisoning. I threw up a couple times, and then I called out of work, and I got the we need a doctor's note. So I sent back a picture of my throw up in the sink, and was like, I'll get you the note as well. But just because of the audacity of you insinuating that I'm lying about my health, you're gonna have to look at all these updates now.
I feel I'm glad that's changed. When I was a boss, not a director, when I was like a supervisor, and you called out sick, I'd say it's better for you to show up sick and us send you home than to call out. I wouldn't do that now. I'd be like, don't fucking come in.
Yeah, because then it's like, then what? Then someone else gets it in that time, and then it's just a whole. And I think obviously, we're 4 years out from the pandemic, and the attitudes are just radically different anyway. Tully points out I took off my glasses for a second. It was confusing. I have had glasses since I was 7 years old.
Yeah,
and once I put them on, I never took them off. I was never like my reading glasses, and I take them off. I don't know my face really without them. It confuses me.
I don't know my face. I forget sometimes. Most of you don't know that I have contacts, but most of you don't remember me in 10th grade when I just wore glasses all the time, 10th through 12th grade.
Yeah. See, I didn't even know that you were ever a glasses wearer.
Yeah. I do wear them occasionally. I have some of them black frames ones that middle-aged men with no hair wear sometimes, but I wear them at night.
Like ones I'm wearing? Like these black frames?
Thinner, but similar style, but the thinner ones. Yeah, the thinner ones there. Yeah, man. So, hey, there's things on our agenda to talk about today. As always, we're going to go where we go in the time that we're here. We're going to cancel. We're canceling the pardoning. We're talking about that. You and I wanted to have some conversations around Anthony Jeselnik, some comments he was making, and just an overall, talk on comedy and cancel culture and all that kind of stuff. So that might come up. But Alden, without a doubt, the headlines this week, if I was still doing the headline segment here, headline, New York City CEO or one of the CEOs shot dead, and then the suspect pedals off on a city bike. What do you think? What do we do? How do we touch upon this?
Yeah, it's hard because I keep an iPhone note that just says AKA, and I just jot things down throughout the week. And the news this week, or just the things that have happened, range from like new Star Wars show that everybody's enjoying to the revolution has begun. And it's only been a week. It is. Yeah, and Coops here says, I'm pardoning Alden. I thought about doing like maybe Ken pardons Alden as a bit or whatever, but then like the revolution started and it changed my entire mood and how I felt about the week. Yeah, I mean,
Biden pardoning his son is a decade ago already. It's one of those weeks. What a year this
already,
week has been. Yeah.
already, and we'll touch on the assassination, of course, but just to, I guess that might be the one that we have the least to say about mutually. So if we
Yeah.
wanted to start with the Biden pardon, that like
Sure.
you're right, seems like it was 10 years ago.
Sure.
My thought on the Biden pardon was like literally I had the reaction of fuck it, I guess.
Yeah.
I just cannot bring myself to care. And everyone who acted like they really cared, this outrage, this news piece was on all day. All day. Because we got the news on at my day job. Like all fucking
Sunday,
day
right? Yeah.
they were talking about, like just the precedent this sets, this has never happened. What are you talking? Do you have any concept of the person that is about to replace this man? Like, because we had him before, and look at the people he pardoned, and it's like, it's not great. And if you had talked to me 8 years ago, I would have been like, this is horrible. This is like, this isn't a monarchy. This isn't an oligarchy. This is just disgusting. I would have been so angry. Now I'm like, who gives a shit? Now my only anger comes from the fact that apparently, out of all the moves he could make in these next, I think he has 5 more weeks, 5.5 more weeks. Out of all the moves he could make, it's like he mustered just enough energy to get Hunter out of Dodge, but like won't do anything for the death row people, won't do anything for the marijuana people, won't use the immunity that SCOTUS said he has, won't force anything through, won't confirm judges, won't it's just like, all right, bud, just I understand that you want to just have a father-son bonding moment, whatever.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I told you the thing in text. I still have sometimes when I hear any president pardon, it's the pardons on the way out of office, right? That always happen. I'm always like, that's a thing. Like that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem
as a concept. Yeah,
alakazam. Like what? Like then what? What do we have laws for anyway? Like it's always rubbed me a little, not even the wrong way, but just I'm quizzical about it. And I was like, yeah, cool, good, yeah, and I know what he said before. I think that was part of a campaign thing of no, look at me, I'm moral and pure, and I believed it, and I think he would have kept it that way if it wasn't for what's coming in, and I think that's obvious. That they were gonna try to, if Kash Patel becomes FBI head of FBI, they would have hung a Hunter in the middle of the Washington Mall. I get it, but I'm with you too. Of just like, cool, awesome, do more, alakazam, a lot of other things.
Do things like and people very quickly want to be like, but that's not how the executive powers work, because if he does something, then this, that, the other thing, the blue sky reply people. I used to call them Twitter reply guys. But now I have to change my language. It's the blue sky reply people. They're a lot nicer. And uniquely frustrating in certain ways. And it's like, okay, you're right, but why not just clog up the system? This is what a lot of people have talked about. This is not an original thought, but it's like the Democrats, not only are they bad at election season, they're bad at gamesmanship just in general. It's like, if you have immunity and you're in this lame duck period, and you have, and the Supreme Court said you have immunity for official decisions, just cancel student debt. Just just ban assault rifles. Just do whatever you want to do. And even if it doesn't stick, you have now caused them to have to spend a few months on it. Like back them up.
When you you put down your phone for a little bit and you come back and maybe you've done a post or something on Blue Sky or YouTube and you get you're getting traction on it and you're like, 45 comments. Yeah. I hope that that's us as a country, like Monday morning, 45 notifications from Joe Biden. And it's just a bunch of things that have just been done. But like you said, it probably won't happen. And I had there was a section of them. And it's funny, a lot of them I saw were some of the Republican never Trumpers who were, I think, on the fighting on the right side of history for my money, but who are doing this whole how dare you lied, and now what will Trump do? Trump's going to pardon everyone from January 6th the moment he steps in. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Grandpa Joe should go crazy.
The idea that anything that Joe Biden could ever do would influence anything that Trump would do is laughable. Like he's they don't he's not operating in reaction to him. If anything, he's operating still in reaction to Obama. Like the other night, somebody posted the infamous correspondents dinner, Obama roasting Trump. And I hadn't watched that since maybe the first Trump term, if that. I hadn't seen it in a long time. And someone said this might be the most important historical moment since the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. And I was like, okay, let me watch it again. And it's uncomfortable. Like, it's uncomfortable. Like, first of all, Obama slayed. He killed. He crushed.
He did.
He crushed. Underrated as a funny person. But the way that you can see that not a giggle comes out of the Donald. Everyone at the table's laughing. But you can see a monster being formed in real time. Or a monster being leveled up in real time.
I think every day he wakes up, not next to his wife, but every day he wakes up, he hears that laughter. He hears that table in his ear.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. Real quick, I just wanted to address Jared's comment here. Try to make fun of me for throwing up in the sink. Man, I didn't choose it. I was on my way to the toilet, and then I felt overwhelmed. I'm not a sink puker as a life decision. Coming from this guy throwing up in a Dave and Buster's parking lot.
I love that. Look, I'd rather throw up in a Dave and Buster's than my sink, but I love that you have this identity as I'm not a sink puker. I think that we need to call out the sink pukers in our life.
Sink puker sounds like a later season Seinfeld premise.
Totally.
No, this is a point I agree with from Andy. Obama was funny and classy. I wish I liked him I liked his politics as much as I like him as a guy. Yeah, I mean that's the story of Obama, right? Is like the cult of personality and the public facing Obama will always be a once in a lifetime American politician. But like in terms of effectiveness, of course, it's like, what are we gonna okay, so Jared's saying he did not puke in that parking lot, but whatever. Okay. But you were wasted in that parking lot, and that's bad enough for me.
Yeah, the Obama thing's weird for me because remember I was a Republican then, so I was like, let's get this crazy lefty liberal I'm keeping him out of my office. Yeah. I want my
now you look back and you're like, damn, I wish Obama was a lefty.
That's
how I feel. I wish he was more. I wish he was the same with Biden. Like when Biden got elected in 2020. It was the radical agenda of Joe Biden, and that's like, I wish, I wish it was the radical agenda. Oh,
yeah. And I honestly at this point don't think we'll ever have that. We'll have to overthrow things to get that.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. We will get to that. Noah says he's a Bush puker. Everybody, identify yourself by where you puke.
Where you puke. I mean, I think I've puked less than 10 times in my entire life.
That's good.
Not a puker. He's puke. Bonus points for that reference if you get it, y'all.
Someone's gonna have to comment that one for me.
Yeah. Oh, really? You don't know that?
I don't think I do.
Who am I doing? He's puke. No?
I still don't know. I don't know.
Vincent Kennedy McMahon?
Is it? From what?
I mean, I'm not a good impressionist, but...
No, I see what you're doing now. I get it. Yeah, I hear the Vince now. I just don't remember the segment.
Yeah. It's not a segment. It's a documentary.
Oh, from the Vince doc that just came out?
No. It's from 1999. Really? Have you ever seen Beyond the Mat?
No, once. Oh, I just remember
okay.
I remember some of the footage from it and very hazy. Remember, you remember how old I was in 1999? So I probably saw it in 2003, maybe 4.
You were 2013 on Tubi or something.
Yeah. Honestly, though, Tubi, I've come to really like Tubi. Tubi is good.
Tubi's good. Has all of the Gilligan's Islands episodes on it.
Yes, because everything on there is free. There's no ad. It's great. Yeah. That's fantastic.
All right. Yeah. Jay for No says Beyond the Mat was the first R-rated movie I paid to see. Yeah, I guess it would be.
Somebody was asking on Blue Sky the other day about first R-rated movies, and I don't remember my first one, but I know I saw Passion of the Christ in theaters. Unfortunately,
God bless you.
And that was an experience.
I can't remember. That's a good question because I wasn't really allowed to see them, so I probably saw some accidentally, but yeah.
Good
question.
Anyway, Biden, just do something, man. I would love
Yeah.
to be proven wrong, because it's like all we've done in my demographic, my age group, my more left leaning circle is talk about how like completely useless this guy has been within the. It's not to say he's never done anything. No one needs to come explain the IRA to me in the comments. Like I feel like
I said before, it's a pretty successful administration. It's a pretty successful administration.
Yeah,
the history will show that. But to your points,
well,
you're right.
Will
you're
it?
Not wrong.
If the government even exists,
well, the government
in the way
and who's writing the history books,
exactly. Like, will it? Like, we might have to be the ones talking about it. I just feel like, as we will touch on with the assassination story, you can't like declare anything without these caveats, which is, of course, that's something we've talked about. Like, even in like Star Wars talk, you have to caveat everything now. But it's like, you can't say Joe Biden is rolling over and going out like a fucking clown without everybody being like, remember when he put party over or vice versa. But it's like, great. Guess what? They fucking lost. So it's like,
sometimes you just want to make
be able to say a
point or a joke. Yeah. Absolutely.
Just want to be able to say it.
There's never been anything more true than the social media is I like oranges reply, why do you hate apples? Like, that's never there. You can't get more of a perfect explanation for the experience than that.
David, I want to address something with you, David. Not just this, which I think is funny. So you could follow the sequel to Passion. Yeah, because I guess they're making that. I don't know what the plot's going to be. I don't know if there's like Bible
that's been in the works for a bit. Yeah.
Bible legends that they can pull from. I don't know. But I saw on your Blue Sky, David, that your last name is not pronounced McKay, it's pronounced Mackay.
Oh, really?
And because it says the K is like kayak.
David, you've never told me this. I'll just go back to calling you Channel 19, how I first knew you.
We have to just like retrain ourselves now. Andy says he could fill me in on what the plot of Passion 2 is going to be. There we go.
The Reckoning.
Yeah, it is December. Coop just realized it's December. I think that realization is hitting everybody staggered. Everybody's having their moment where they're like, oh, it's going to be 2025. 2025, which feels to me more like a future year. Like, I know Blade Runner, I think, takes place in 2019. And like Back to the Future 2, the future is 2015. And those I could swallow pretty easily. But 2025, something about the way it sounds. I don't like.
When is Demolition Man?
Oh,
okay, David says, I told you this in London. I don't remember anything anytime I meet somebody. I am stopped by 50 people every 5 minutes at sometimes on those events. I don't remember what Grace and I talked about. David Mackay, if that is your real name.
Yeah, David Mackay.
When is Demolition Man takes place in...
You're looking it up?
Yeah, continue. Okay, carry on.
No, you're good. You're good. I was going to look it up, and then it's Eli got it. It's 2032.
2032. Oh, my God. Well, you know what's funny? That movie still has a chance of happening. We might be living underground eating rats with Dennis Leary. Okay. It might be.
I'm into that. We just might accept our fate.
Wow. I didn't think about that. We're rapidly racing towards the have and the have-nots. All right.
Damn. Anyway, so if anyone else has Biden pardon thoughts, leave them in the comments. We don't really have much more to say about the story. When we decided what we were going to do this week, that was the biggest national story.
Yeah.
And it is, again, it's just like to go out with such a whimper is going to be the defining tonal legacy of this whole thing. That we still have time. We still have time to do stuff. We saw Kamala on one Zoom meeting with all the supporters, and we've seen Joe do this and walk into the Amazon like as if he was returning. What did Jon Stewart say? Like, he's like returning to the soil, like redistributing his nutrients. Like,
yeah.
Okay, all right, man. But meanwhile, on the other side, of course, we have the weirdo conservative fuck up mommy tour that's happening with Elon's mom and I always mispronounce his last name. Is it Hesketh?
You're not the wreck of the Hesperus. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's just
they're just going around like, my son is a good man, and I'm very proud of him.
And then Hesketh's mom saying he's horrible.
Well, yes, we had that letter saying he's a threat, an abuser of women.
Yeah.
And then now they're trying to walk it back, and like,
oh, well, I didn't see that. I was busy watching Skeleton Crew.
What's amazing is that I've seen some conservative pundits say like, well, the letter was private. It's like, okay, all right, well, didn't you guys have a 12-hour hearing about emails? It's like, can we like,
yeah.
Share. I'm begging. Well, I know we'll never get consistency. We'll never get it. But
no, it's the name of the game. Inconsistency. You see what I did there? It's the name of the game. Yeah, you did it. It's stunning. I don't, I think most of these people will get confirmed, which is crazy. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe they won't.
Maybe they'll keep falling apart.
Maybe they won't.
The way Gates did.
I choose hope sometimes. It doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't always work. But Skeleton Crew did give hope. This is not a Star Wars show. But we've both been very happy about that this week. That has been like the thing to hold on to. That this show has been really, really good. Yeah, it's been a blast. I've rewatched them a bunch of times. I know you have.
I've rewatched about 3 or 4 times each episode. I haven't rewatched Acolyte or Ahsoka at all. Like, it's a different vibe for me that I'm loving. And though I am rewatching Andor. I'm one more episode to go on my rewatch. And
well, that's because you're a learned adult who understands what real stories are. That's why you're rewatching Andor.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
To remind yourself that Star Wars can be more than this goofy, silly shit.
It can be real, according to Gilroy. But I got to tell you, as much as I, quite frankly, loathe Tony Gilroy, it's so fucking good. And I forgot of the post Marva death where B2 emo is sad, and I started to like cry on my treadmill for that. It's so sad. It's so good. It's so sad.
B2 emo underrated. This is the thing that I've said about modern Star Wars that I think, because I have a lot of Star Wars takes to the surprise of no one. But the one that I don't think anyone in good faith could ever disagree with is that they are what is the phrase? Is it batting 1,000? Is that the good one? Is that good?
That's good.
That's perfect.
That's
yes.
Good sports.
They are perfect when it comes to modern droids. They've never missed. From Rebels all the way now to Smee, they have never fucking missed with a main droid. It's an incredible.
I'm tired,
streak.
Not because of you. I took a big unexpected yawn.
You're good.
Yeah. No, look. The only debate people might bring in are L3 from a lot of different angles. That one gets debated a lot. It's some of it's in good faith, but I think incorrect. But I think you're right. Yeah. And it's funny because I did not like Chopper at first, but in that way of like, Chopper's kind of an asshole. And then you realize, Chopper's an asshole, and it's kind of great.
Yeah. And then season 3 comes around, and Filoni and Henry Gilroy are like, and by the way, he also has PTSD, and he was a Y-wing astromech who crashed, and he's like, and you're like, I get it now.
Yep. I loved it. Yeah, all of it, man. Even what was the one in Resistance? CB3,
CB23,
CB23. After carry back the true heir apparent.
Really, you had BD1 in the Jedi games. He's great.
BD's fun.
Mandalorian doesn't have a main droid in that way, but you had IG-11, and then
IG-11 I think works.
They made R5 a full character.
Good
AP5.
Stuff. Yeah, a lot of good stuff, man.
Good stuff.
Okay. Sick boy, where you want to go now, sick boy?
I want to go to Molly's amazing question. Out of nowhere, Molly comes in with a question that we could do a whole show on. Who would you pardon if you were the president?
I know a lot of people are going to say the CEO assassin. God, who would I pardon?
I mean, the CEO assassin. Yeah, I mean, like
that'd be
for sure
something. Man, who would you? I'm trying to think, because I'm like, I don't want to. I'd like to see a list of deserving candidates that I don't know of that aren't famous. There's probably no famous. I know Grace would want to pardon the Menendez brothers now, so maybe that. But I don't know. I don't have this answer. I'm trying to think.
I would back her on that. I mean, of course, this right here from Dan, the right answer is anyone who's in jail for weed. Yeah, the weed stuff immediately.
Sure. But that's what I'm saying. This question's like the F, marry, kill of politics, so I don't want to get too real with it. You know, because I just don't. That
Snowden has been thrown around. That's Snowden. I wouldn't do Snowden. For sure.
I wouldn't do Snowden.
Snowden and
Russian asset.
Assange, Julian Assange.
Not him either. Yeah, sorry. No. You guys can pardon. If you get to office, clearly pardon who you want.
Yeah, in this reality, we all take turns as president. So. Andy says, I would pardon Joel Schumacher from all the hate he's gotten and then pass a law that straight fanboys can't discuss his Batman movies on air. What about me, Andy? I've said great things about his.
You all and Billy Patterson can discuss those.
Billy Patterson,
I haven't revisited those films. I saw those all in film in theater, and I have no. I'm out of the conversation.
Can I pardon? Oh, in the same vein as that, can I pardon George Lucas? Not that he needs it, and not that
the people versus George Lucas.
Yeah. Can I pardon him from that prosecution of the people? Can we finally say that the people were wrong? Are we there yet? I think we're there.
I think I've been there. I think we're there. Yeah. We just need to do it for the Gen X. Gen X needs to understand it.
Yeah. I'm really trying to think of like a real answer for somebody that I would.
Well, yeah, that's what. This is a great question, Molly, because I'm just like thinking, it just. I don't know where to go with it. Because that's because I just said I'm too tied to my past where I'm like, I don't care if you did the crime with good intentions. If you did it, you did it. So I wouldn't pardon you for that. But like other people would take context in the situation. But if there's a ton of I have a friend who does documentaries on wrongly accused people on death row. Like, give me that list. Give Biden that list. But a comic one, I think Molly's question's more in line with your George Lucas answer.
She has Molly's answer. I see Molly's real answer here. My pardon, Martha Stewart. I watched her documentary recently, and it was really interesting. That's interesting. I don't know enough about the Martha crime. I have not watched the documentary. I do think I've always enjoyed the piece of trivia that out of Martha and Snoop, she's the one that's been to jail. That's always
She's got cred.
She's got real cred. But I don't. I would probably want to partner with one of those organizations that looks into the. I forget the name of that one. I should know it. The something project. Is it the Amnesty Project? Maybe the ones that they look into these cases where it's like we didn't have the DNA at the time, and like these guys are clearly innocent, and we're trying to get the same way we worked. Collectively, the society worked for years for the Central Park Five. The exonerated five. You would want to do it to try to unfuck a lot of these mistakes for sure. Maddie says he would pardon Joe Exotic.
Joe Exotic answer. I'd pardon Rivers Cuomo of Weezer for their second album that everyone thought sucked. That's actually their best one, El Scorcho.
Okay, I don't have a strong enough Weezer take to be like, but I like that. That's the fight that you're picking years later.
25 years on.
Using the presidential pardon to justify your takes. Like, can I pardon Taika Waititi for Love and Thunder because it's better than Ragnarok? And
see that's fun. That's the kind of conversation that I think I should.
Oh, you know who I want to pardon? I want to pardon Dave Filoni because he used to be everyone's precious little baby boy, and then he got too popular and became a mainstream band, and you all decided that he sucked. So I'm going to pardon him for everything after Rebels. Just whether you like it, don't like it, I'm pardoning him just so it annoys the hypocrites.
Can I re-indict him for things he said about people I know in private to ruin their careers?
Hey, man. Hey, we'll talk about it off air. I want to know. Wait, can I pardon the cast and crew of Wild Wild West? No, you may not.
No, Jared, that's not allowed. Everyone had a part in that.
Robert Rodriguez. Yeah. Although Rodriguez doesn't, I would say don't pardon Rodriguez because he's an outlaw. Rodriguez.
Oh, he doesn't want it. Yeah, he'd lose cred. He'd lose cred in his pizza kitchen.
For sure.
Andy says, that's some tea. Yeah. He's all right.
It'd be that way. We hear, Ken hears things. I hear things.
I knows things. I hang out with people who hangs out with people who work for people.
The Ken gossip train is always, we hear this gossip and then consider the like a detective, consider the motivations of everyone saying the gossip. and then try to distill it down into something. Tully, Quint, do you honestly think in your right mind that we would? What show do you think this is?
No.
Just pardon the Attitude Era crowds. No, we're not doing that. They deserve to be punished. We're not doing that.
I mean, look, it was the style of the time. That's all I'll say.
It was the style.
We didn't know better. Trust me. I got back into wrestling in 2000, like around 2000. I got back into wrestling. I was like, they're doing what now with wrestling matches with women? What's happening? Yeah, we all fell victim to that in that time. But you can indict us.
I'm pardoning John Cena for the years where we all said John Cena sucks, because in reality he was a perfect hand. Always did what he was asked.
He was a 5-star guy when he needed to be. Yep.
Yeah, just constantly. Yeah, anyway, if anyone has any more thoughts, let us know.
Okay.
In terms of this tone of like getting away with stuff and everything, it kind of lends itself perfectly to this comedy conversation that we wanted to have. Which was sort of the other second big point of the week,
which is like small,
which is ongoing. You know, this is something we've touched on before. For sure.
Yeah. It'll come in and out.
It was just because he's been doing press. He's got a special out and everything. Yeah. He's been talking to other big hosts and podcasters and comics who are also podcasters. You know, I'll as a side note, I wish that less famous people had podcasts. Do you agree with me on that? I feel like it fucked everything for the podcasters. It really has in a lot of ways.
Yeah. That you know, it's just the way of it. And we all can't go back in times to where some grassroots podcasts could begin and that became successful. Even someone like Colt Cabana was one of the first big ones, The Art of Wrestling. And I think that's a better example of he wasn't super well known. He just did his thing in the early days. Even Maron, his growth, Maron was only known to certain people, and to be one of the early leaders with WTF, I think is a better example than what's gone on later on. But yeah, when you look at like the top 10 charts of any category, you know, in general, and it's an actor with the podcast, this and that. And I don't fault anyone for doing it. It's just
it's not that it can't be good. It's not that but it's like it is frustrating. For sure. Just wanted to make that side note. But we wanted to talk about a little bit about the things he's been saying. You know, he is, as far as I've seen, the first famous comic to directly on air call out Chappelle. And
you're talking about Jeselnik. I don't think we said his name. We're talking about Anthony Jeselnik.
I'm talking about Anthony Jeselnik. Yes, Anthony Jeselnik, who has had an arc, I think, a character arc as he's gotten older over the last 15, 20 years. I remember when he came around, or at least became mainstream enough for like us middle schoolers to notice him and everything. He was the edgelord trying to shock you a little bit. He sort of he was kind of like, I wouldn't say their material is the same, but like he was famous to us teenagers in the same way Dane Cook was. Of like, okay, there he is. Yeah, this guy. Whoa, he said that thing. You know, you're getting the reaction you want from young boys. And now here he is, like saying really eloquent things about comedy and about the way that you know, the Andy Warhol philosophy of like art is about getting away with it, but at the same time, you shouldn't like victimize yourself by acting like you aren't allowed to say what you want to say. And he brought up the very real, I think, bullshit of people like Dave Chappelle and Ellen DeGeneres. Going and doing these like multi-million-dollar contracts and getting these specials that will live on this service and be on the front page and all this stuff. And Chappelle saying he's been silenced. And then Ellen saying in the special, I've been thrown out of Hollywood. It's like this ironic, trying to be ironic, stupid nonsense from people that are in immense positions of power, acting like little babies. So you're a comic, you're working. You tell me how you feel.
Yeah, no, I've never been super familiar with Jeselnik's work, other than very aware who he is. I think I may have brushed by him in the Comedy Store hallways once or twice. Like, you know, and again, I always say this: I am a utility infielder who's hung on in the major leagues for a long time. You need a good glove on your team that's going to come in the ninth inning. I might be your guy. These folks we're talking about are superstars. They're Hall of Famers, and that's just I want people to know I'm clear on my position in the comedy world. So it's never a judgment of it. I've gravitated to Maron more than Jeselnik and other things, but he has grown, and I've been fascinated by some of the stuff he's saying. I stopped and listened to the WTF episode with him and Maron. It's a fascinating take, and you say arc or growth of where Jeselnik is, and he obviously approaches topics that are often considered taboo, or you could push the offensive button, and he comes at it in a different way, and he gets praised for it. I think, generally speaking, unilaterally. I'm not saying everyone here in our show or you or me have to love him like he's the best, but he's one of the best at what he does. But I love what he's been saying. And that clip that you had shared me that kind of sparked this conversation was on Tom Papa's show. Tom Papa is a great veteran comic, but Tom Papa is also part of that ilk that occasionally will bemoan safe spaces and cancel culture too. So for Jeselnik to sit down in that chair and just straight up say any comic who bemoans cancel culture is essentially wrong. I forget the exact words. But there's an edge to Anthony that I'd like, that I do think he talked about comedies need to be dangerous in a way. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Mm-hmm. He said something about the danger of comedy, and that's where I'm really at in my life right now. And also where I'd kind of gotten, even in terms of talking about Star Wars or on social media, where I do feel there needs, I'm not talking about safe spaces and that whole jokey, hacky meme. I'm just talking about, I think it's okay to push some boundaries when we're talking about things. It's the intent that needs to be measured. I have a bit I have right now. It's working really great for me. And for the first time ever, in the last 3 years where my jokes have changed, I made a conscious decision to say something that might cause some people to go, but to make sure I pull the string out a little bit more to explain that I'm not punching down. I'm literally reaching across to people I consider myself. And it's working. But it's also comes from a point of truth. And without saying it's a joke about attractiveness levels and employees at a certain store I go to. And I remember thinking, I can't do that. And then I was thinking, fuck it. It's true. It's a truth. If you went into that store, you would think it too. So let's talk about it, what it means. And I'm not saying I'm on any level Jeselnik is, but I really agreed with what he's saying. And that's where I'd like to see as we move forward in this world, to being able to not offend, not push boundaries. 'Cause I agree with all the things he's saying. So many comics get it wrong. But if we're actually going to talk about ideas, it needs to have a little bit of a high wire act. Comedy needs to be slightly explosive and dangerous.
Yeah, and it's like, Ken, you've been picking up on a lot of like what I would say like Gen Z slang and like the parlance of the youths. Mm-hmm. You recently adopted the phrase or the term bars, right? Which I love. Another one is a 2-word phrase, skill issue. You just say, that's a skill issue. And honestly, I feel like that's what a lot of it comes down to, which is not to say that Dave Chappelle and Ellen DeGeneres are not good at stand-up comedy or people in their tier of success. Obviously, they're good. They would not have 30-year runs if they weren't good. Yeah. But it's like, at what point do you stop trying to grow and advance and work on things? And to your point about like the danger, it's like, I also am somebody that believes that any premise can work, but you need to have like the writing ability or the lived experience synthesized together to make it work. And and there have been times where it's like I've thought like, is there a subject that, and usually if you look into it, you'll find somebody out there doing it and doing it well. I watched a comic just on, I wish I'd saved it. It was just like scrolling through Twitter and someone posts 2 minutes of their material, and this woman went up there. She's probably around my age, and she did a bit about how she had been a victim of sexual assault, that she'd been raped, and talked about the things that the settlement money bought her, and talked about, and was like, she like baited the audience into agreeing that she looked nice, and then said she bought everything she was wearing with that money. And everybody in the crowd like had that mixture of like, oh God, are we bad for laughing? Are we? And she ate it up and really, and I was like, I've never seen somebody do something like that is so like viscerally uncomfortable about that. And like, so it's like, I do think there's a way, but it's like, who is she punching in that moment? No one. It's a concept. It's an act. It's an event, and there's just, but somebody else could try to do that and talk about settlements for victims, and you're hitting victims, and that's a skill issue.
Yeah, I agree with you in general what you say about the skill issue thing of just like, I may be using the word intent, you have to sometimes be in the room. That's why I hate when clips are you know, some clips get shared out and it's like, no, that's in the realm of a comedy club. That's okay. I'm not talking about Michael Richards clip coming. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about if you're not there, sometimes you're not there because you could tell the intention and the energy of these comics. Lastly, Brendan Schaub being mentioned. There's someone who's just too dumb to get it. And I've seen it. And then I've seen some comics do similar things to what you're talking about. And it's not done with skill. It's not done with good energy. And it's not good comedy. It's a good truth and it's a good purging and it's a good thing we should talk about. And they choose to talk about it. It's their life, but it's not good comedy. Yeah. So there's the edgelords types and there's some like, you're almost there. You're almost there. Like I years ago, 2003 or 4 range, I was trying to do a bit about one of my suicide attempts. I wasn't skilled to do it. I don't think I'd do it now because I just don't think I want to talk about it. But I had a joke about, trying to run off a roof, jump off a roof, and I like was so out of shape I couldn't make it. And I was trying to make that the joke, and it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
It just wasn't working because I didn't know how to do it, even though it was my story to tell. So I think that skill word you're using, I think, is sometimes true. I would be fascinated to see that bit.
You also, and this is hard to say because it's like, how could we know? Where, your location, your geographical location. It's hard to know what crowd, who went where, but like that also might be a bit where you were just ahead of your time. Like, not to blow smoke up your ass, but like 2003, it's like, suicide humor and things like that, probably not landing. But like with my age group, my crowd, like that could kill.
It was considered more. It was from I wasn't an alt comic. I didn't love alt comedy back in the. I wish I should have gone and hung out at the Largo because I had some friends and people I knew, like Stephanie Courtney, the progressive Flo from Progressive. I didn't know. I knew her. Didn't know her. But her whole group, they'd all go hang out at the Largo and do sets and everything when I was in the Groundlings. And I was like, I should have gone there. Yeah. But I just hate alt comedy has a little bit. It's like when I get really angry about people who are aggressively anti-sports for just being it, not because of any personal experiences, but just like calm down, Yeah. We're all just trying to survive. But that joke that at the time would have fit in there. But it's moved. You're right. I think it's moved. The confessional stuff has changed. It's not, it'd be more accepted. Yeah, maybe you're right. All right, that's it. This weekend I'm going to go talk about death.
Hey, yeah. Throw everything out. Go back to the dark stuff. I will once again try to sell everybody on the television show Hacks. The season 1.
Oh, I have it close. I have it like in my queue.
Yes. That's actually huge. That's huge, everybody. Ken getting something from the recommended phase to the almost hitting play phase.
Almost hitting play phase, yeah. That's
massive.
Big. It's big.
That's a big part of the season 1 arc is she's, this veteran comic and trying to switch to the confessional material.
Well, is Carol Lafer's behind it, right?
I don't think so. It's 3 young showrunners that work on it together, but I don't know. Maybe in a producing capacity.
Maybe,
sure.
Yeah. I'm looking at Carol Lafer's, who Elaine was based on. So I thought
she might be an inspiration for the character.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking. But
because the character of Deborah Vance is like a mixture of all these legends. Joan Rivers is a huge, inspiration.
Right.
But yeah, everybody here is having some great comments. Like Andy here, like Always Sunny in Philly shows nothing is off the table if you're talented enough and you have the right intent. Tully brings up Carlin. You shared some great Carlin material as well. I'm glad that he only briefly had a punch down phase and never had this elder comic hackiness happen. Yeah, and it's like everybody. I wish he'd be here to say something, to see something, to share with us. But
when you talking about that post I put on Blue Sky, sharing his a clip from his '88 special, that's just unfortunately spot on for today's Republican Party and evangelicals. A lot of people try to claim him, and some, like I've always gone off about the 7 dirty words. A lot of people on the edgelord side miss the point of that, everything. But like honestly, I don't know where Carlin would come down on vaccines and mask mandates. I don't think we should assume that he'd be for them
because of he hated groupthink. We know this.
He hated groupthink and he hated the government, and he was a big both sides there. And I'm not even saying that is wrong because I think he fought and stood up for the right people. But yes. If you look at some of his clips all through the years from like the 80s on, I don't think you could predict exactly where he'd land in these times. I think he'd be definitely anti-Trump, but
he would be anti-Trump. He'd be anti-MAGA.
Yeah.
He'd be anti-Christofascism. He would
Yeah.
hate the tech bros. There are things that I'm very
Yes.
confident about.
Yes.
With
100%.
him that were consistent throughout. They're
Yeah,
like
but
the NRA, the anti-women stuff, the current Supreme Court.
Yeah, he
there
was
are
ahead
things
of
I'm
that.
super confident about.
Yeah, he
there
was
are,
ahead of that.
but there are those couple things where it's like, what version of it would have angered him? Maybe, in the same vein, maybe the groupthink of the Rogan era, we know better than scientists, would piss him off more.
I think so, maybe. But again, that's the thing. I think the moment, that's why when I put that post, I try to put that caveat in it of the moment I think you try to claim Carlin for your argument, he'd be against you. Like the moment you said this guy speaks for you, he'd be like, calm down. Unless you're Ronald Reagan or anything like that.
For sure.
Anyways, but it was fascinating. I think my fire for the conversation got lost a little bit over the week because so many other things happened. But the other thing I want to say, because I said this a little bit about Bill Burr recently, and what was slightly, and I think you and I didn't get a chance to talk about it more, but I said, listen to the Marin interview, and I don't know if you did.
I haven't listened to, well, you mean Jeselnik on Marin.
Jeselnik on Marin.
I listened to that. I've never heard Burr on Marin before. I don't know if you have.
Oh, yeah, talking about the Jeselnik one. Where Jeselnik says in that interview at one point, he's like, "Oh, I'm liberal." Like he kind of identifies as liberal. And again, whatever that means, I don't know. You decide for yourself. But like he says it, but he kind of is like in his comedy, he's not. And it's frustrating to me in these times that I wish we had someone as powerful as a Jeselnik or a Burr, because Marin is my guy, but Marin is still not worldwide known. And I think he has less of a chance now because he's just too smart for some of the stuff he does. He kills at the Comedy Store regularly. But you know what I mean? Like he's not going to get to that level.
For sure.
I wish we had a Burr or a Jeselnik to not go against the Rogans or the types, but just with that influence to not, they both have the comics are, again, speaking of the Carlin thing, we are outsiders. We like to be left alone. We like to observe and point and rebel. And so they both have the energy of nothing I say matters. That was the problem I had with that SNL monologue from Bill Burr. Was, man, you do matter. Like I think you have this approach of I'm just doing jokes. You could do more, and I don't need you to preach. I think they have this like I don't want to preach. And part of that, again, when you go play comedy clubs around the country, you feel that a lot more. And your job is different than it is in an LA club or a late shift Tonight Show clip. You know. It is different, and that's what I've always understood. But like, I wish they had their for lack of a better term, to come to Jesus moment, where like sometimes I feel Burr gets really close, and I think Jeselnik gets really close, and some of that Papa clip was really close, where he's talking about cancel culture, where we could have someone to stand up on a bigger scale. A great comic, if you don't know it, this guy's named Steve Hofstetter. And he's been around for years. You used to see him at the store back in 2005. And he's got a big following. He's got good numbers. He's got a good career. And he's a road comic. And he goes around and, dude, there's clips of him just shouting at people in his crowd.
He's I first knew him as the heckler destroyer.
Destroyer. Yeah. And if you watch his stuff, he is aggressive in his tactics. And he's just not to the big level, you know what I mean? I don't know if he ever will be. He's a road comic at heart. That's my end of the day. It's somewhat of my frustration with Jeselnik and Burr is you could be a big tool in the fight. You don't want to be in the fight, and that's frustrating. Even though I agree with a lot of things Jeselnik was saying this week.
Here is a good question from Tully. Ken, does success and money hurt comedians? Using Chappelle as an example, and I will add to that before you answer. I feel like there's also a larger arts conversation here that people, I mean, we've heard it our whole lives. Like, isn't it ironic that George Lucas became an empire? Like that type of shit, I think also does play into what we're talking about here. But in terms of comedy, I could see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's like a band. It's the old story. Your first album is your 10-year struggle to get out of town, and then your second album is about all the cocaine you're doing once you're out of it. Like, you know, that is art to a reason. And like, I'm, you know, even I'm not doing mounds of cocaine, don't want to, but like even this week I'm doing more things creatively because I'm desperate. Like I need another part-time gig. I just found out suddenly post my pay date that I'm not getting paid for holiday stuff. I don't know what to do. So I'm like, all right, I need to create, I need to drive, I need to prove myself. You know what I mean? And sometimes when you're like, I got a paycheck this week, it's just human nature. And it's just also those guys are surrounded by people. You know, I don't know Chappelle's entourage as much, and he has kind of a reputation of just showing up and doing time in the belly room. But like I've seen some of the other guys roll up, and they got a lot of money, and they're sharing with their friends. I don't have a problem with that. But I've seen Hinchcliffe roll up to the store in 2 black SUVs with a bunch of people around it. Like you're isolated. You're isolated from the world you're talking to, and I think that can be part of the problem as well. And then you could probably get defensive too. You know, it's like, I'll say the word. During the first like 48 to 72 hours of the Carano stuff, I was like, no, look, she's been through a lot. She's been a fighter her whole life in and out of the ring, and she's feeling attacked right now. And and then at some point she just committed to the fight, you know, to the wrong side. You know what I mean? But I even first 48 hours, I even our Force Center Discord, I was like, everyone just calm down. Like she's a cornered animal right now. And I knew for a fact that the cast loved her. They still do, by the way. I knew for a fact that was the case. And then it just exploded.
Except the star. Except the star.
Okay. But
I would bet.
You'd bet. But you know what I mean? Like, would you? And I'm talking especially those first 72 hours. But then you saw someone switch, and I think like Chappelle on a larger scale. Once attacked, that's what a comic will do. You're attacking me, I'm going to fight back even harder, and it's dumb. It's
human nature in general.
It's human nature. This is why I tell people don't date comics. They're horrible people. Like, don't do it. So, anyways, but it's a good question. But it's like, you know, Oasis's first album is Getting Out of Manchester. The second album is We're Rich and Famous, and isn't that great? It's sometimes less compelling.
I wanted to mention Jared's comment here about Hassan Minhaj. I always try to say it right. I apologize. I'm white. I know it's Hassan, but
Hassan.
I am not trained to pronounce it correctly, unfortunately.
It's the American tongue. That's all I've said.
It is. Do you think that he's doing what you wish Jesselnick would do? I think he is. The problem is that, I don't know if you've noticed, this is a racist fucking country. And his ceiling, therefore, is different.
I've never seen one of his bits. I've never been a fan. Never did like his Daily Show stuff, so I wouldn't know.
I love his specials. I'm indifferent to whether or not. I mean, look, I'm indifferent to whether or not I really wish I would have had his Daily Show version. I'm not like that. I think it's fucking stupid why he didn't get the job. We all agree that was fucking dumb.
Same with the other guy too, right?
Roy Wood Jr.
Roy Wood.
Yeah.
Though I watched their CNN show for one episode.
Oof. Oh, I haven't seen it. It's the one that it's like him and like 3 people.
Yeah. They had Tim Burchett on.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Not saying it was their decision. Oof.
Yeah, not great.
But
yeah, I love Hassan's specials. He's got 3 Netflix specials. I think they're great. The new one is fantastic. But again, it's just like, you know, there's so much baked into this country that they're not going to let him be the one that speaks for people. It's just, I don't know. It's unfortunate. It sucks, but it's like, you know, there's like while we were talking about this, I was like, what if, you know, this fabled Joe Rogan of the left was a woman? Like, what if it was like, what if Nikki Glaser started going after these people? And it's like, but I just
I think
that they would let her.
Yeah, and I, by the way, I want to nothing you're saying is wrong, but I think my point with the Jeselnik and Burr thing is they are in the white straight male powerful position that we need. That's my whole point with it. The others might be doing it. I like Glazer's stuff. I'm just not a fan of his own stuff, but like they're probably doing it. I'm just saying in that position. And this doesn't really have to do with the left needs their own Joe Rogan. That who cares? But like, you know, it's like, oh, you could be the chosen one. But instead you're doing the too cool for school, which is dangerous.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah, I agree. 94M, he was perfect for it, and then Comedy Central sat around and did nothing. But again, it's not that I dislike John. I'm not one of these people that is like. Obviously, we both like Jon Stewart. There's this attitude from like my fellow young people of like, he just blah, 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 and it's like, just fucking relax. You wish your fathers acted like Jon Stewart. So just like relax.
I get it, and it's like we're judged on what we do or say as we should, but like I've told you I tired right away of the Tuesday morning discourse of what side is John on. Yeah. Just let him do his thing, or tune in, tune out. Listen to the weekly show, which I think is way better, anyways. Go watch The Problem, which I thought was really great. Like, but I just it's the same thing with that's what burned me out on the Star Wars thing, right? Mm-hmm. Every Wednesday morning, we had to decide whether Star Wars passed its test or not by a lot of different people, by the way. Not one side of the argument, where I'm just like, enough. Enough.
To Andy's point here, the left not needing a Rogan, I don't understand the notion that we need our own dumb as Rocks podcast host wackos. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't, when I say it, because that's the thing, is I think everybody's saying different things, right? Like when we're all,
yes.
You know, there are people that are asking for that, and that's not going to help anyone. But I think when we say like the left's Rogan, which like I'm indifferent about whether or not I think we actually need it, you need someone that breaks through and ends up on like, you know, Jim Bob's fucking Spotify playlist. Like that somehow gets into the rotation of regular dudes. Because obviously when you look at the Latin men, obviously white men were cooked, but you look at Gen Z men, like there is a definite issue with like reaching them and you know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I take it. I think you're right too. It's and when Andy was saying, you know, I don't think they're wrong there. I just saying like I always took that over the last month or two as who could have that much influence on these very influenceable people, these white angry mouths, and that's a question for the ages. Yeah, because we wish we could have solved this problem centuries ago.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah. Anyway, so that's about all I got on the comments.
Yeah. No, it's good. And like I said, I lost a little fire on it during the course of the week because there's just other things that popped up. It just was fascinating, and you know, I love talking comedy, and I have my opinions on it, and I'm in it, and I don't love rules of comedy being put on me, and I don't think they should be put on other folks. But also at the same time, I get it because I put them on other folks too. So to see Jeselnik kind of bucket a little bit was fascinating for me this week.
Yeah, for sure. You know what else is fascinating this week? Watching everybody deal with the fact that the revolution arrived, and watching the moralizing, the sadness, the tears. I'm gonna start blocking people. Guys, let's start the caveats. This will be one of the biggest caveats in ANYTIME history.
Yeah. We should have made a graphic and just put it up on the bottom.
Comments. Yeah, right. Like it's just a rolling like ticker. That's just like, this is intended in good faith. This is intended in good faith. Yeah. So the following discussion does not in any way, shape, or form condone murder as an action. Nobody is saying that you should go and murder more people. Nobody is saying that it is not sad that somebody is now fatherless. Nobody is saying that someone is now husbandless is a good thing. We are not saying any of these things. Do not try to moralize about it in the comments in a way that acts like we are saying any of the things that I just said that we are not saying. I think that is thorough enough.
I think you said it well.
Potentially. I would also add, I'm not speaking for Ken on this one. This one is just for me. I do think it's a little interesting to see the amount of like, but it's death, but it's never good from people that haven't said fuck all about Palestine. I'm just throwing that out there as well. That the white 425 billion in profits who hurt people, he's gone. But this is still the country, and that's for the mainstream news media as well. You know, the humanity, and then
it's the joke.
At the same time denying it.
It's the Joker speech. It's the Joker speech from whatever one of those Nolan movies about.
I was like, which joke? Okay, so the Heath Ledger joke. Okay,
the Heath. Yeah, when the deaths in Palestine or in a theater of war are just normal. This one's not normal. That speech. I think that reigns true for this. Not saying I side with the Joker here. I'm just saying,
totally. I mean, like, it's what this country has deemed as like business as usual.
Yes.
This country has not obviously understood or deemed that retaliation against this monstrous class is normal, and that I think is part of the lesson here. Okay, so United Healthcare CEO shot and killed.
One of the CEOs, right? He's not the CEO. He's one of them.
One of the CEOs.
Yeah,
he's dead. He gets killed by this hooded, semi-masked man, and gets on a bike, rides away, etc., etc. NYPD has a $10,000 reward out. Even though they have, I think, like a $5 billion budget, evidently they need your help. So great. So that's ongoing. Then immediately there's the conversation around it, which we'll talk about. At the same time, I want to note Blue Cross Blue Shield does the anesthesia thing. And then where they said we're not going to cover anesthesia past a certain amount of time. Which is just like, that is dystopian as fuck.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they reverse course on that. Interesting that they should reverse course. Almost like something happened. Then other companies I've seen have started to remove the leadership tab, like on their corporate sites, and like, okay, all right. So, look, in My Chemical Romance's song "Na Na Na," in parentheses, "Na Na 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 Na," they have a lyric which is, "Everybody wants to save the world, but no one wants to die." And I have been thinking about that lyric. I've been thinking about all these ideas, and it's like, look, I'm not saying that, like, again, we should be going around killing people. What I am saying is that for everybody who's like a usual, like, violence is never the answer type liberal, it's like, how is going to celebrate, because that's why he was there in New York, going to this gala to celebrate their profit shares and everything, 425 billion in profits. He's got the $10 million base salary plus all this other stuff in profits that they've made off of people. And now we're seeing so many people share their United stories when they're denying children wheelchairs, when they're denying pregnant people care, life-saving care, when they're doing all these things. How can anyone with a straight face contend that that is not violence? That is, like, in the same way that I've said DeSantis should have to face a negligent homicide charge for all the COVID deaths in Florida. How does this guy not have thousands upon thousands of negligent homicides or at least assaults on his record? And it's like, I can't ultimately feel bad, even though, of course, murder is not great. But it's like, when everybody's like joking about looking the other way or not helping the NYPD or all the memes that you've seen, it's like, I get it, because class-related violence is a thing that happens when people are A, hungry, and B, can't get their care. That's what history has showed us throughout. And you and I have talked off air and on air. And even around, like, right before the election, I remember texting you and saying, I really wonder how close we are to actual violence. Like, I would love to talk to experts on this. And evidently, someone in New York said, Alden, I will show you how close.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at on it.
Yeah, look, I think the greatest song ever recorded is My Favorite Mutiny by The Coop. And they also have a song, 5 Million Ways to Kill a CEO, which I think started trending on Spotify this week.
Oh, they're making bank.
Check out The Coop, man. It's My Favorite Mutiny. Yeah, look, I'm with you too. It's not my style to make a direct joke that would seem to celebrate a murder. I don't care if other people do. I don't clutch pearls on it. But it was weird. Our conversation started this week because, again, I wasn't paying much attention to the story. I was locked in working on Force Center. Again, I hate to make it. I had an unexpected loss of income this week that kind of shattered my world a bit, and I'm trying to deal with that. And suddenly it was like, wait, what's happening? And I learned it from people on my Blue Sky that I know, who I say are on the same side of the political arguments within a general range, fighting against each other, blocking each other. And that's how I started it. So it's not my style to celebrate any kind of murder. What is the conversation around it is fascinating this time in a way that I don't think it's been in the past and should be. And I was telling you, I was watching a CNN segment on it online, featuring a guy named John Miller, who was like their law and intelligence analyst. But I've met John Miller. I've been in a meeting with him. He was the last Western journalist to be allowed to interview Osama bin Laden. He's a fascinating guy. Don't say I know all of his politics or agree with his politics, and I might predict where some of it lies, but I have heard the guy speak for an hour. Fascinating, intelligent guy. So they brought him on. He was talking about it, and they're talking about the clues on the casings and everything. And I text you, they were treating the story so normal and not acknowledging, they were dancing around, but not, they were still in this man's outstanding and $10,000 reward. And what could these words on these casings mean? And they were playing it as if they didn't want to say that this is the sound of a reckoning. You know what I mean? Yeah. That they were just like, if we don't say it, maybe it won't happen. Now, do I think this could actually be the start of it? Is it just a one-off guy? I don't know. All over the world, we are like the only country that doesn't have some of the things going on in present day. You know, we always talk about the French Revolution. Hell, man, I've been studying, for whatever reasons, because it's part of my heritage, I've been studying the Russian revolutions of like 1917, the Bolsheviks, everything. It's fascinating. That ain't too long ago in the grand scope of history. And I'm not saying I'm advocating or I'm saying it will. I'm also telling you, to some of the folks I saw that were joking about it, great. Step up, son. Like, step up. Because I know one person has a pretty comfortable life that is constantly celebrating this kind of stuff, and I'm like, step up. And are you ready for the heat? If this is it, this is it. But that's one thing. That's aggressive, Ken. But the other side is the conversation around is real. This isn't new. You're too young to remember, and not from Southern California, Orange County, Los Angeles. In the mid-'90s, there was a very famous incident that changed news coverage forever of live events. There was a guy who held up I think it was the 5 freeway, held up a freeway in Los Angeles in the morning, like 9 a.m., held up the entire freeway, pickup truck, German Shepherd dog, and a big sign that was against HMOs, accidentally blew up his own truck and killed his dog live on TV. It haunts me to this day to see it.
Holy shit.
And then he gets out of the truck on fire, strips down naked because he's on fire, takes a shotgun, blows his head off as the helicopter is focused in on him. And that was all about the insurance industry. It has not changed. And it changed the way, I mean.
How horrifying is that story on its own, but also how horrifying is the fact that I had no idea that ever happened?
It never happened. It was local to SoCal, maybe?
That should be in the history books.
Yeah, it should be, because it changed the way news was coverage, because it was live. And this is about 97, just not too far after the North Hollywood shootout. Which was happening live on the air and close up with helicopter cameras. And this happened, and people in the newsroom were crying audibly. And it changed, and now you get a little bit of pullback. But it was sci-fi movie dystopian thing, because you were looking at this guy. What is this guy doing? This guy didn't get the help he needed from his medical insurance company, and this is what he did. And that's 30 years ago, 35 years ago, closely maybe. 30, God, time. And so that's why I'm fascinated in a sad, tragic way that this incident is carrying a different weight, because it has you hear that? It's Marva. You hear that sound? That's the sound of a reckoning. And I joke about we're not that close or not that far off from Demolition Man, which is about the haves and have-nots. We're not that far off from a comic series called Lazarus, which is about 12 families.
So good.
And the waste, and the rest of the waste. The battle has always been up and down, left and right is part of it. And I'm not here one of those guys. They distract you with left and right. It's all part of it. But up and down is the battle, and the battle forever. And it's the same energy, and that's where I go with it. So I'm worried less about joking or talking about the CEO murder. Yeah, of course, bad. Yeah, got it. But it's like, is this the wake-up call? Do we start having more of these conversations? Are these the things you can have conversations with your parents about, or your friends who don't pay attention?
I can tell you that over the last, I've used, my mom's political evolution as an example before, but it's like 8 years ago, my mom was a very classic milquetoast Hillary Democrat. Just I vote blue because, whatever, and, that's it. And then I told her about this story, and she was just like, I mean, yeah, did they think they could get away with it? Like to see that radicalization happen, even in a small example of like one person, but it's like, it is the conversation opener is the big part of it. And like the moralizing to me is like completely useless, because they've never moralized about anyone they've hurt ever.
Right.
Not once.
I agree.
And it's like, I said to you in text, like the first part is, how can you say that what they do is nonviolence? And then the second part is the very white American, like egocentric attitude of like, if this was a CEO in a primarily brown country, if this was in the Middle East or the Asian subcontinent or Africa or anywhere of a non-white majority, and it was a CEO that was doing the same things to its people, we would all be like, oh, political unrest over there, as rebels have like, they would actually talk about it, and they might even celebrate it. Maybe they'd have Cody Rhodes go out on pay-per-view and announce that he was dead, the way that we did with Bin Laden, where John Cena got the scoop before mainstream news. Literally a referee in Cena did CNN's job that night. Crazy stuff. But like, we would be like, oh, wow, I'm really glad they got that bad guy. But because it was a white guy in New York, it gets a completely different tone attached to it.
It's the Joker speech again. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There wasn't there a politician, a leader, Asian country. I apologize, it's not jumping to my head right now, but who was like stabbed to death recently, like within the last year or two.
Familiar. Yeah.
And like, it's like, well, yeah, that's what happens. Political unrest. We should talk about. Look what's going on in Syria right now. And I think you're right about it. And the frustration, I think, everyone, even in our chat, anyone listening, we've all had these battles with health insurance companies. It's all been insane. And like even you go to your mother, I go to my parents too. But even like my mother for decades has had different battles with health insurance and would agree with me that it doesn't work right. And it's like, okay, how do we translate that? How do we move you forward? And I haven't talked about this incident with her, but I have a feeling she'd be just like, oh, that's bad. Yeah, it's bad. But I agree with you, Alden. Like, is there some kind of class action lawsuit? Maybe there has been, of just holding a lot of them accountable for deaths and stuff. It's not likely. It's not likely that it would succeed. But I agree with you, like with the DeSantis thing.
Yeah, it's like your decisions are actively doing this, and we hold people to those standards in small ways. Like you leave a child in a car and the heat kills them. That is negligent homicide or manslaughter. I'm not sure what the distinction would come down to there. You might know better than I do, working in law enforcement. But it's like that. Yeah, like you're fucking liable for that. Like that is your fault. If you're working at a factory and you're in charge, and this equipment goes haywire or whatever, a couple guys die, like guess what? So it's like the same that we protect this class, and we've continued to protect this class. And I want to point out our comments are here. Shahid, as a wheelchair user, insurance is terrible. Like this is these people of every demographic, of every need, of everything, whether it's wheelchair users or pregnant people or children or cancer patients or everything. These people from coast to coast are suffering, and we've all just normalized it. And it's like we've gotten to the point where it's like this guy becomes completely just vindicated, like in a certain way. And I think that's why, the Tully's comment here, every time that one of these people has gone out, the public approval has gotten louder. When you look at, like, before it was a vanity project, like with the submarines, of like, let's go do this, and then everybody laughed about it because it was vanity.
Was it the whales attacking all the yachts?
Then the whales attacking the yachts. Like,
Mark Ellis had a great bit that was timely that he only did during the sinking of the destruction of that submersible, and I can confirm people of all shapes, sizes, creeds, beliefs, religion cheered and laughed heartily at the jokes about the death. And I know one was a kid who didn't want to go, all the blah blah blah. But and I think that is. Yeah, and I don't have this. Yeah, and it's I sound like Carlin. Untether yourself from the normal thinking of left versus right. It's up and down. I don't mean, because I think the battle of left and right also includes a lot about rights and people's right to exist. I'm just saying this is the constant struggle. Even
this is why it gets said all the time that, and I texted this to you as well, that Breaking Bad, often considered the greatest show of all time.
This is a great point you made. Say it.
Yeah, and it's not an original point to me, but like I do like to tell people because it really puts it in perspective for them. Breaking Bad, considered one of the greatest shows of all time, drama masterpiece, et cetera, et cetera. is a show, for those of you who somehow have missed it entirely, is a show about a overqualified high school teacher who gets cancer and it's late stage or middle stage, and he can't pay his bills, child on the way, all this stuff, and turns to drugs. And that seems like such a wild premise, I think, to a lot of people. It only makes perfect sense here in America. It's not to say they don't have fans in other countries. Charlie Ashby in the UK, he loves that show. We talk about it. Better Call Saul as well. But it's like that stuff, that only makes sense here, that someone could be pushed to that. So it's like, yeah, we've just now seen somebody get pushed to offing somebody. So it's like, yeah, I can believe that they would sell meth.
Yeah.
Like that is immediately a premise where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And it's all the things about that character too, of like having a family, being overqualified for his job, having a job that we all agree is the most honorable, but somehow gets paid shit, like a teacher. Like that was one of the first things I talked about with friends and with my mother and other people, is that like talking about this guy hypothetically. Like I would not be surprised if this guy, like I'm not afraid that this guy's out there. Does that make sense? Like I don't perceive this to be an unhinged threat to society. This guy probably has a loving spouse or a sick child or a sick parent, or he is sick. I guarantee you this is somebody who is just like reached the wit's end. I recently watched, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the film First Reformed, non-spoiler, it does not end in murder, so I'm not giving away anything like that. But like First Reformed is a film with Ethan Hawke where he plays the preacher who has an existential crisis about the climate crisis and says like, would God forgive us for what we've done to his creation? And it's an insanely just like beautifully written film, but I never felt like he was crazy in it. I really, what's so chilling about it is that you're like, he's of clear mind. And I really think that is where we're at with this guy. And, you know, and
you're right. I would put some money down on if he was of clear mind. One would even say clarity of purpose. I think that's
one would say.
Yeah.
One was, and you know, and like I poo-pooed Andor earlier because I can't stand some of its biggest fans. But goddamn, if something like this doesn't make you want to grab a brick with your parents' ashes in it, and just like I'm saying, like, and I'm looking at the comments here, and I do want to give credence to like something like Laserbolt. This is a normal person comment. Killing this monster is not going to fix healthcare. You know what, Laserbolt? You're right, man. Like it's not. But I don't know if you saw or you heard, if you joined us a little bit later. The very next day, a monstrous, amoral decision was reversed. I'm not saying that we should be solving every problem this way, but what I am saying is that these people would happily let you die, Laserbolt, and me.
I think there's been a lot of meetings this week. Yeah, absolutely. And as far as like pulling down the about pages and everything, yeah, I think you should. Quite frankly, you should. That's not abnormal. I had a friend who was a high-ranking person at a media company who was a guest on my podcast years ago and called me up and said, I need you to take it down. We're receiving threats from a crazed fan, and I'm not comparing crazed fan to what this guy did in New York. I'm just saying, yeah, it's not abnormal, and maybe you should think about it anyways. So now definitely they're having meetings. I definitely think they're gathering up. And even that's what John Miller was saying. He's like, he's getting calls from security directors around the country, which is how I met him when I was a security director at a conference, of wondering what to do. Yeah. I think they're having some meetings. And again, this isn't endorsing it, condoning it. It's just, it is definitely, I think the tone around the conversation this week is different than the one that would have been 10 years ago, 20, 30, 40. You know what I mean? Like it has a different energy to it.
For sure. Like it, and I think, I don't know if you shared in this or Grace or anyone else that you know and your friends and family, but it's like, I had also an initial reaction of like, kind of surprised that doesn't happen more. Like 100%. Like last year when we were in the strikes, it's like, and you know, those comments came out, first of all, it was the anonymous comments about bleeding people until they had to lose their apartments and all that shit. But then there was like the Bob Iger comments and everything. It's like, I'm now retroactively, I'm like, kind of surprises me that like no one in the guild just went and lit his yacht on fire. Like it really, like it seems reasonable.
Yeah. And going back to Iger thing, Iger's been one I've always generally liked and thought had a better handle on his image, false or not, don't care, but he had a better handle on it. And then he didn't, and he lost it, and he careened, he crashed that plane. And yeah, I mean, I really agree with you. It was like, ooh, like, yeah. And that again, even some of the situations in my own life where it's like, like I'm struggling and you're not, and you're in a position as an employer to not let me struggle, and you continue to do so. No wonder I'm going to hate you. You know what I mean? It's just, it's weird. And I don't, again, like, I agree. Yeah. I don't know if there's going to be sweeping changes. I'm not saying that, suggesting that. But I'm with you. I'm surprised this hasn't happened more. Again, citing the incident I talked about in the mid '90s, and there's been more. I know there's been more.
And I think that like what we're seeing is, and I think these two comments paired kind of is like what I'm talking about. Like Laserbolt says, taking up guns and killing those who we think are wrong is a dangerous state. I don't disagree with that in a broad sense.
Yeah.
Then
Andy, I agree fully.
I think it's good if monsters are afraid. I don't want them coming out from under the bed boldly, which I think is a great, first of all, it's a great visual, and is also, I think, at the same time true. Again, multiple truths being something that we sort of.
Oh yeah. No, and I think that's what I was. Look, I sometimes my aggressive side comes out on this show, where I'm like, step up, son, means, what Laserbolt's saying is you're moving it into a dangerous area where at some point you're doing it. And a lot of people in my life, not saying you, not saying in the comment section, but a lot of people in my life, I'm like, but you still have a lot of the comforts. You and I were joking. I was like, I love when I see a punk rocker walk into a grocery store with an anarchy spike jacket on and hair spiked and this and that and Black Flag tattoo, but you're still picking up butter. Sure. And are you prepared to leave the butter behind? And maybe you are, and maybe this is that time. And I'm not saying to be an asshole. I'm just saying, then prepare, because there's the group of people who are prepared are the ones we're often voting against. That's the battle we're having. That's what I tell you. Like sometimes people put on the MAGA hat because they know you're not going to knock it off them. So maybe it's time to knock it off them. But that's a real state. And I think that's what Laserbolt's saying there. That is a real thing. Be prepared. And maybe people are. And that's my point this week. Maybe people are.
Maybe people are, and I think also to the take up guns and fight people and kill people you think is wrong. I also think that's such a it's such a I don't want to say reductive, because that's not what I mean, because I do understand what Laserbolt is saying, but I think it becomes reductive when we only moralize in the moment and not with the context of everything. It's like, I'm not saying that United Healthcare is the Nazi party. Here's a caveat for what I'm about to say, and where I'm going with this. But it's like, if we as a people do not at least somewhat come together on certain things being wrong, then we failed. And like we do at some point need to draw a line and say, like, this is wrong. Like if tomorrow somebody was like, hey, breaking news, a bunch of guys in a truck just went around and went on the sex offender registry and killed every child molester in this mile radius, I would like, would we say the same things? Like where does the crime become bad enough?
Have you ever seen the footage of the dad who shoots the man who molested his child as they're walking them in or out of court? It's like from the late 70s, early 80s.
I have not seen that. No, I saw the guy live. When the doctor thing happened and he jumped the thing. That was a few years ago, but
yeah. No, it raises. I'm not saying I have an answer. I generally think murder in these specific incidents. I'd say it's bad. But to the counterpoint and of the so are all the insurance stuff and everything. Yeah, I think both are true, as you all and I always say.
And that's the thing. No answers. Like, nobody is saying that like go do this, but we are saying, or at least I'm saying, we have to, when we're in these moral quandaries, we have to ask ourselves, where is the line? We have people, like I've brought it up before because it just disgusted me so much, but like shortly before the election, you have boats with swastikas in Florida on the water, cheering, laughing, having a good time. Can anyone watching or listening after the fact tell me with a straight face that it would be a bad thing if that boat got shot up or burned? Like, after we have thanked men and women for decades in this country for fighting what we all agree is the most demonstrably evil thing in the world. Probably not. We'd all probably be like, people hiling and wearing swastikas, like, you guys are the worst. Yeah. But then it's like, okay, let's take that and move the same mentality across different issues. And it's like, victimizing pregnant people and people with conditions. Like, you're not a Nazi, but like you are, I would say, demonstrably fucking evil. Child molesters, I would say, as somebody who's like knows people and is close with several people who have been victims of that and or of sexual abuse in general. It's like, am I going to roll a tear if you get capped in the head? No, sorry. And like that doesn't mean and apologies to everybody who can't stand to hear that. Feel free to block me. But it's like that's just like the reality that we're in. And it's like again, you look at the way that we've acted, anything else, like we have butchered countries on lies, and we're supposed to feel bad about demonstrable truths. I agree with
that. It's no, I agree. I totally hear what you're saying. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, or the other Spanish American War, all those kind of things. No, it's a weird world, and what gets put into the normal bucket.
Exactly, and that's the
what
thing
comes
is that, like,
outside of it, and that's my thing this week. Like I said, I have no clear answers on this. It's been fascinating to watch this play out on Blue Sky, because Blue Sky started, so we're all having a party. What's your favorite carrot? And suddenly this was the thing this week that was breaking live in front of all of our faces of valid thoughts and opinions on each side. Like I think everyone here today has expressed some things for their hearts. It's fine. It's good. Yeah. But I'm just, that was the thing that was fascinating for me. Watch, and this isn't a mainstream media, corporate media. It's just watching normal newsmen talk about an incident that's not normal, clearly, but having to talk about it normally, it was awkward, and more than it has been in the past.
And only because of his job, because it's like if it was the same, like if you could frame the crimes in a non-corporate way, like if this was a guy in New York who was going around physically stealing wheelchairs and he was killed, it's like, it's only because of the removal. It's only because you put them in an office.
Yes.
The one degree of removal from the crime.
I agree with that.
I would like to point out real quick.
Yeah.
I've been following updates on this, many of them hilarious. Elon Musk appeared today, and he had his son with him, one of his kids, on his lap.
Yeah.
And this person said, this is from Brandy Bryant. I will credit this person. Brandy Bryant said, Elon never spends time with his kids, but the second a CEO gets shot in the street, Father of the Year, hanging out with his little human shield. Hey, yeah, you're about to see behaviors change. You're about to see behaviors change. You're about to see, like, this is it.
I agree with that. Whether you can't prove that as fact, but that makes perfect sense to me. Oh boy, man, fascinating. All right, I got really nothing else to say, and I want people to understand what I'm saying. I just want people to say I feel bad, because I think you and I are speaking to our audience, and I think I'm speaking from a lot of the audience comes from your world here, a lot of them from my side of the podcast world. I'm just like, if you're gonna knock that head off, can you fight? Maybe we all need to take karate lessons. Maybe, like, if that's where a lot of this is going, I just want you to know that kind of violence is real. If you want to burn that Nazi flag in a boat, what's the next step after that? Let's do it. So what I'm saying, Alden, let's all get a Groupon for karate classes.
Karate. Yeah, that's going to be it. Karate is going to save everybody. Look, I have no, for my own part, I have no illusions about the fact that I am not infantry material. If it were to come down to that, I would keep doing exactly what we're doing right now. I would.
How much of the fight?
How much backyard do you have? Can we dig a bunker? Can we broadcast from there?
I actually have a pretty sizable backyard. It's ugly and not usable, but yes, for our purposes, yes, we could.
Perfect. We will pivot this into like a revolution radio type thing. We'll start letting you know. We'll do like CEO live tracking. We'll find a role for sure.
Yeah, it's all part of it. It's all part of it. Nemec has a role just as much as anyone else, and he picked up a blaster. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, all in good fun. This conversation, Alden, all in good fun.
Now, we don't normally do this, and we're gonna round out the show here. But can we experiment with something that I didn't talk to you about before?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wrote down things that are not main topics, but I wrote down a couple questions that I just want to throw to you because I was thinking about them this week, and I think it'd be funny to get your answers.
Call it surprise the old guy.
There it is. Somebody make a graphic. The first one, and you touched on it when you mentioned MAGA hats. I literally had this thought this week because I saw a gentleman in a red baseball cap that was not MAGA, and I had this thought. Will red hats ever recover from what has happened to them over the last 8 years?
No, they won't. No, they won't. You're talking to someone who no longer wears or tries not to wear anything that has empire symbols on it, because I got a dirty look in a coffee shop that I know was real, and it was about me representing the wrong side in Star Wars, where it used to just be like, hey, Star Wars fan. Now it's really? That's a Star Wars hat. Yeah, I absolutely think it'll never recover, or it'll be generations before it recovers.
Yeah, like I think about, and you being a sports fan, I'm sure you have many friends whose their primary color of the team is red, whatever shade of red that is. But it's like, that fucking sucks. Like, it really, like, I don't have any red baseball caps. Mine are like black. I think I have one green one, but it's like, you're fucked for a long time. Like, people look at you and they immediately assume asshole. I do.
It's not unlike, look, the American flag. And the American flag, I don't know, maybe you've never wanted to claim it, and with good reason, with our histories and everything. I'm saying, put that aside for this conversation. But, what do you see? I got a neighbor, I told you, every once in a while, he unfurls this like 6 foot wide American flag. I know why he does it. Yeah. Am I to assume that everyone that, flies an American flag is doing it because of MAGA intentions? No. It'd be great to reclaim it. And make make that flag mean something better. But I have to assume, and I'm probably correct.
I love the Andy, the Punisher logo's fucking gone. Jay says red hats haven't even recovered from Fred Durst.
That's to be honest, that's the comment. That's the comment of the show. Like Fred Durst doesn't even wear red hats as much. He's all looks like Santa Claus. The Punisher logos are amazing because I have some friends of mine who are police officers who have the Punisher logo on it, and it's so tragically comical. I can barely look them in the eyes.
It's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. And I also think that we need to stop trying to like be clever about it. Like people that wear the red hats with the white text and they put like their own thing, and it's like, stop it, because it sends me into a fight or flight, and then I can't engage. Like Matty Matheson, who's the celebrity chef, and he's also in The Bear. Super cool, like tatted up, mustache, big dude, right. Great vibe. He has one that just says sandwiches, and it's like, I need you to stop that, because it's like, I get what you're doing, but I can't.
It's just it's not now, dude. Not now, dude. Maybe 10 years.
Yeah. The other thing I wrote down, I just wrote people complaining about Bob Dylan. So that just to remind me. Basically, the Bob Dylan movie's coming out in a couple weeks, and critics that have gotten to see it early are furious that apparently, of course, the infamous, legendary heckle of Judas, Bob Dylan for his switch to electric and everything.
Right.
That happened in 1965. Apparently, in this movie, it happens at a different concert. Like they just moved when it happened. And everyone's like, it's fucking ridiculous. James Mangold didn't even get it right. Well, and so my question to you is, do you honestly give a fuck about biopic accuracy?
I used to. And I couldn't even give you an example of one that upset me or one that wasn't, that was so egregious. I don't. I just, as a history buff, you're telling these stories and I get it now and I have less investment in it. But it still puzzles me. Right. This isn't like the Napoleon movie that came out last year. That is, it's a complete work of fiction. I don't know why you'd do that. But like, I value the history. But even like, I love the movie Kingdom of Heaven. I really do, especially the director's cut. It's both completely accurate and wildly inaccurate. So is Tombstone. Tombstone, I just watched last week with Grace. It's highly accurate, down to some of the lines of dialogue and the placement and everything, and it is completely inaccurate, and also doesn't paint a complete picture of any of the people involved. I'm not shocked. Young Guns 2, Young Guns 1, people will laugh at me. Very accurate.
I didn't know that.
Inaccurate. John Fusco, the writer, I follow the guy, he follows me back. We never had direct communication, but very historic, accurate, down to some of the lines of dialogue. But also wildly inaccurate because it's a movie. So I think I just come down on it. But a movie that's supposed to be the biopic, it's weird. It's a weird choice. especially if it's just a concert that this could have been set up. But I don't care as much anymore. And that's not even in context of the world's too. I got more things to worry about. I just think as a fan of things, got it, whatever.
I'm at that place too where it's like for me it's fun trivia. Like it's fun to sit around and be like, oh, did you know in real life? Like I talked to our friend Alex Backus after the Saturday Night Live movie came out, and we were talking about how one of the executive characters in the film is portrayed as way more negative on SNL to give the movie more of an antagonist. And it's like, I really don't give a shit about that. Like I really,
I still haven't seen the movie, even though it's got good reviews. I'm going to see that, but I'm such an SNL historian in that era and everything, where I just like, I'd rather see a doc, and that's the thing too. I'm in my doc phase, my middle-aged white man phase. I'd rather see a doc on Bob Dylan than a movie. And that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
And that's the thing too, is that like I always am like, okay, well, we have documentaries and we have movies. I don't go to the movie not the documentaries aren't movies, but you know what I mean. We have narrative and we have documentaries, and it's like I don't go to one to be the other.
Yeah, and again, and I'm not saying it's like I love one of my favorite films is Glory, and it's both same thing, highly accurate, highly inaccurate, and then I was disappointed, and that's maybe a great example. Disappointed to learn, that wasn't exactly this. This isn't exactly this, but it sent me down a rabbit hole of learning, and I think maybe it sounds cheesy, but if that's what happens, then maybe that's a benefit.
And here's my final question to throw at you.
And
maybe I'll start doing this more.
This is great.
I'll start journaling things to ask you.
It's great producing because, I'm just sitting down going, here, let's do it. I love this.
Because you're just going to feel it. So a little bit of context. Some people in the chat will know this person. I'm friends with a guy named Trey Mitchell, who I love. And he's in the space, big Star Wars fan and everything. And you've met him, but it was at a hotel bar, so you probably don't remember.
I remember Trey. Yeah,
okay. Trey. So Trey is called Trey, like many Treys are, because he is the third. So that's a lot of Treys are whatever their name is, the third, and they get called Trey as a nickname. So he is William Mitchell the third.
Interesting.
And so, but he's been Trey his whole life. And earlier this week, I made a joke about like his future kid, and I said, well, when William Mitchell the fourth is telling you to go fuck yourself, whatever, and we had a good laugh. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, am I too judgy on people that name their kids after themselves? Because I always have been. Since I was a kid or a teenager, I've been like, that's so egotistical. Like, why can't you give them their own identity? And so I'm wondering, how do you feel about that? And even though I know you're not going to have kids, if you hypothetically had a kid, would it ever cross your mind to name them Ken?
It wouldn't. I think it's less fun, but I know several juniors, Mark Ellis being a junior, it's okay. And I think it's very old school. It's very, well, we got to keep the farm, Mom. Let's name him Junior. Let's name him third. It's very family legacy. But, I think, hey, look, Trey Mitchell's a great name. That's a speedy left fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates with an uptick in skill level. William Mitchell is a Bill Mitchell. Bill Mitchell will sell you a car. William Mitchell will probably put some legislation in place. Names mean a lot. So if you have the ability, Trey's got the ability to go any direction as he gets older. I think that's great. So I definitely don't look down on it, but it's far from my first thought. Yeah, now, there'd be no Kenneth Allen Knapsack the second. No.
Yeah, I don't think you immediately end up in like these like shadows of like living in the shadow, or like these legacy conversations of like, oh, do I expect them to be like me? Am I imparting? So like there was that interview with John Cena where they asked him about like whether or not he's going to have kids, and he's maintained for years that he won't. This is like the third time John Cena's come up in this episode. This is incredible. This is like, I'm in touch with my inner child right now.
I see
as a C Nation kid.
Yeah.
He has always maintained he doesn't want kids. And then the interviewer is like, you don't want to have a little John? Or Joanna? And it's like, people are so about propagating themselves than they are about making individuals. I'm so suspicious of it.
Yeah, no, yeah. Look, like I said, I wouldn't knock anyone for doing it, and I definitely won't knock anyone for being named that, because what choice do they have in that at that point? You could obviously change, but no. What does Trey think about it?
I don't think he wants to think about having
That's
kids.
fair.
I think he's gonna have them, but I think that
Okay.
he's in the like,
Okay.
he's not married, so it's like, remember we're young, so it's like these are conversations for later. But like I have a couple friends that have kids, and like that number starting to tick up of like the amount of
You're in that age. Also, the other thing too, it speaks to the patriarchy, right? Because there's not a lot of Joanna Juniors. I know there is probably some other, but usually it comes out in middle names or, like Lady Gaga's full name has their, Joanne, all the stuff in there. Like, yeah, but I maybe that would be, maybe that would be the way to do it. Daisy Ridley Jr. would be great.
Her full name is epic. It's Daisy Isabel Jazz, or Daisy Jazz Isabel.
Of course it is.
Got jazz in there. It's so fucking cool. Oh, Billie Eilish too. Billie Eilish's full name is Billie Irish Pirate Baird O'Connell.
Yes,
Pirate.
yeah.
Fucking rad.
Yeah.
When you're in the arts, when you're a nepo baby, when
She
you
grew
have
up,
any connection, you're in there. Maddie over here preparing.
I saw her mom when she was pregnant with Billy. Back at the Groundlings days. What was that? Haley Williams Jr.
That's Maddie's future daughter.
That sounds like Hank Williams III.
Tully says his family's okay, but Tully, do you mean actually cursed? Like, is this a Von Erichs thing, or no?
A Kennedy thing?
Is it Kennedy? Yeah, I love how that just
sins
goes to
of the father.
Yeah.
Joe Kennedy took a deal with the devil.
Laserbolt. Your mom's name is Hermione? Like, for real? Oh, I didn't know there were.
Oh no, it says I wish my mom. Oh, I see what you're saying. That'd be great. Yeah. Hermione Laserbolt is a great name.
Hermione
Laserbolt is a fellow Kenneth. So
Hermione Laserbolt is a character that you would make like in D&D or something.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a 12th level druid.
Did I say that right? Really, that was a nice little nerdy. I believed wholeheartedly that you played.
Thank you. I played.
If I lived out there, we would get a Sunday group going.
No, you wouldn't, because that's when I shoot my ASMR videos.
It would be so cool. That was the most like Californian like influence thing I've ever heard.
It's the most late stage capitalism. I work 7 days a week just to try to make the $50 a month I make from that channel. Oh, okay. Alden.
No, bonus question.
Yeah.
On that, how close are you to selling feet, Ken? How close?
If it worked, I just don't think it's a lot of, I imagine I would have the same vibe if I went to an OnlyFans to start a Ken Feet channel that I get when I go to Fiverr about once a month to see if I should re-up my Fiverr account to I'll voice over your video for $5. It's just like, it seems to be so exhausting to maintain. And with my track record, I'd do it. I'd commit. Guess what? OnlyFans, middle-aged white guy feet. Do you want it? And I'd get $2. Yeah. Where the guy next to me would make $2,000. Story
coming soon to the Ken Knapsack shirts. Only Ken's. I think only Ken's.
Yeah, right there. That is merchandise. I'm wearing this wonderful Brian Ward. Brian Ward designs these wonderful shirts. He makes $2 a month. Like all these things that we try. They're hating. Read off some comments and then we can close out. Let's do it.
His last name is Powers. Oh, okay.
Oh, I got one of my good friends is named Powers.
Okay. Andy says he will name their son Winner. Is that how you're gonna manifest it into coming sooner? George, I named my baby after this book. Please release it.
Winds of Winter Hodges is amazing.
Oh, that's so good. Maddie announced that he earned 17 cents from Spotify this year. Well done. Excellent work.
By all means, I saw something. I don't know if he's still in the chat here. I have the Elements page up here, so I can't see the chat. David Mackay, as he apparently told me in London last year.
Yep.
I saw that he, same thing. Everyone at the end of the year, we people share their Spotify end of the year, and then we have the conversation about how shitty they pay, which is true, and then we burn everyone at the stake for listening to music, and one of the only ways we know how. David, I saw, said he has a playlist of favorite artists or people he knows, and he just plays it on repeat to get them to listen. That is amazing and actually does help. When the Moon Angels launched, one of us, I won't say who, not me, but one of the members of the band, we were listening to our own music. One of us fell asleep with one of our songs on repeat and took like a 4-hour nap. And the next day we woke up with like 3,000 plays. It was amazing. It was like great.
Well,
so
you're not
do
lying.
that.
I remember our pal Jamie Stangroom told me a while back. He was like, well, the YouTube, this was maybe 3-4 years ago. He's like, the YouTube stuff changed where like incomplete views no longer count the same way as if you let it get all the way to the end and stop.
Right.
So what I started to do is, because like, look, this might shock you, but those of us that like podcast and do this stuff, we love our friends. We do not have all the time to listen to everyone's podcast.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I don't.
Impossible. So when it comes to like my friends that have their shows and their projects, I will open up all their YouTube videos and shows and tabs, mute all the tabs, and let them run. Like,
it's greatly appreciated.
I've been doing that for a long time. It's
greatly appreciated because runtime is a problem, because if you on YouTube your channel's played against yourself. So I release 3 ASMR videos a week. The first 2 are like 28 to 30 minutes. On Friday I do a short series, 10 minutes. That's fucked me. Because YouTube's like, people are watching this video less. Well, it's a 10-minute video, but they're watching it less. So it fucking gets buried. And it's almost the way I have to drop the series. I don't have time. It's frustrating thing. So that's appreciated.
Yeah. Anyway, only Ken's coming soon. That was my last thought.
Only you first. You first, buddy. You first.
Only. See, my name doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Well, I don't. Just put your feet for sale. Let's do it. All right. Fun stuff. I love the question segment. Let's do it again.
Yeah, we will.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
All right, friends.
We're out of here.
Don't get in any trouble this weekend that'll end up on the news.
Don't get any trouble. Don't do bad things. And remember, if you want to take this home as an audio podcast, because that's the way you like to listen to things, it is available on the Napsok Network podcast feed, the RSS feed that's been alive since 2012 and will continue to be. We'll see you next time here on Anytime with Ken and Alden Diaz Napsok Jr. Bye.